Hello and welcome to another Saints Live with me, Steve Forbes.
And me, Kenzie Benali.
And tonight it's top v bottom as Southampton travel to the Emirates to take on Arsenal. Now both teams are fighting for different things at this point in the season, which could make it a nervy affair in North London. Now joining us tonight we have former Southampton captain Dean Hammond and Daily Mail football reporter Adrian Kajumba. Now Dean, makes a bit of a change from Friday night football to either make or break your weekend.
I'm looking forward to it, Steve. I'm looking forward to it. Look, no better game, no bigger game than against Arsenal at the moment, top of the league, and like you say, top v bottom. So it'll be interesting, but it'd be nice for the Southampton players to respond after that disappointing defeat against Crystal Palace. So looking forward to it, mate.
Adrian, last time out we had Adam Lucky Charm Leach. It didn't quite work out for us. Could you be our advantageous Adrian tonight?
I would try my absolute best. That's the best I can offer. I'll try.
I love how polite you were with that, Adrian. Thanks for going with it. Great to see you both as always. Lovely to have you with us on the show. Let's get to the early team news, shall we, before the official team news is announced in under 15 minutes' time. You can see the players arriving at the Emirates there. What do we know then? Ainsley Maitland-Niles, of course, unavailable against his parent club. Shay Adams, Mohamed Salisu, Juan Larios and Tino Livramento are all still out through injury. And Mislav Orsic is available tonight after a slight knock kept him out of last weekend's loss to Crystal Palace. So Adrian, let's come to you first then. What lineup do you hope to see tonight?
I think tonight, in particular, after listening to Mikel Arteta following Arsenal draw at West Ham, I think it's a night for an aggressive team, an attacking one, a direct one. They were a few of the sort of qualities you mentioned West Ham showed in coming back against Arsenal last weekend. So I think that may be a sort of way to go maybe tonight for Southampton. Be direct, get pace in the team, and actually have some players in the team that can trouble Arsenal. When you go have these away games against the bigger sides, you don't want to just be trying to defend for the whole game. You've got to have ways that you can get out and cause them problems as well. So yeah, I think there were a couple of hints maybe from Mikel Arteta in terms of ways that possibly his team can be sort of unsettled.
Indeed, maybe some enforced changes for Ruben tonight. How do you expect Southampton to line up?
Well, very similar to the weekend, Steve. But I was looking at the squad earlier. I was looking at what maybe the manager could do. I think he may tinker a little bit with the shape. I think he might go to a 4-2-3-1, which is not a huge change, but just a little bit more defensive, a little bit more disciplined. I think having the two holding midfield players sitting a little bit more to protect the back four, especially early on in the game, I think will be really, really important. I think Pero probably will come back into the team at left back. And also maybe, I don't know, this is a bit of a wild card, but Lianco coming back in because his performances was so good against Arsenal earlier in the season, especially against Martinelli. He was really, really aggressive against him. Martinelli seemed to struggle on that afternoon. And then I think maybe Stuart Armstrong coming back in the team, that bit of experience, that bit of know-how. Adrian's just touched on having those attacking players on the pitch that can create moments for Southampton, because I think realistically that's what they're going to have to hold on to tonight. Moments. They're not going to have huge amounts of possession. They're not going to have territory a lot during the game, but they will have moments and try and create chances. And then really it's who you play up front. Do you go with Sulemana, who's got that pace and has got that unpredictability and can take players on and can run in behind? Or maybe do you go with Mara? I know he hasn't played a lot lately, but he did come on and score that goal. I do believe he's got ability and he can cause defences in the Premier League problems. So a couple of changes. I think 3 or 4 changes tonight, but it will be a very, very similar approach. But I think and I hope it's all about frustrating Arsenal tonight, trying to stay in the game and cause a little bit more anxiety in the players and the crowd and just build a bit of tension and try and take advantage of that, because Arsenal of late, dropping points, they will be feeling a little bit of pressure and they will be expected to win tonight and they will be expected to win comfortably tonight. So staying in the game, I think, is really, really important.
All right, so that's the thoughts of Dean and Adrian ahead of the team news. Make sure you're also getting in touch and sending in your comments as to who you'd like to see start against Arsenal this evening. And before we hear from Ruben Sellers, I would like to read out this comment, actually. We mentioned earlier that we're hoping our very own Adrian is bringing the luck this evening. But actually, maybe it doesn't matter if you're not Adrian, because we have our very own lucky Adrian tuning in to Saints Live. He's commented on Facebook. He says, all the best. So fingers crossed that he brings us the rub of the green this evening.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Well, on the subject of Ruben Sellers, he ran through the team news in his press conference and addressed the absence of Ainsley Maitland-Niles as well.
We are still in the same position for us. Shea Adams is still out with the calf injury. Mohamed Salisu is still out with his pubic problem, with his overload in the pubic bone. Tino played 45 minutes for the B team last week as a part of his recovery, but he still need to test a little bit more. And Juan Larios is still out, long-term injury with his hamstring. The one that recovered is Mirza Forsic, that has been training with us during the week.
And no Maitland-Niles, of course, against his parent club. How much of a blow is that to for you on Friday?
We have players to cover. Of course, Ainsley is a good player for us. It's an important player for us, having playing regularly since we took the team. And it is what it is. And we have players to cover, and we show that we are good enough to cover that position.
Well, Adrian, let's speak about Ainsley Maitland-Niles then, shall we? He is, as we've mentioned, ineligible this evening to take on his parent club. How would you assess his situation, though? Because obviously he's out of contract at the end of the season with Arsenal. He's played fairly regularly for Southampton, hasn't he? But perhaps not had the campaign he would have hoped for.
Yeah, I mean, it will be, with his contract situation, it'll be a big crossroads kind of summer for him. It feels like he's been at these points before, but always been under contract at Arsenal, where maybe his future there was uncertain. But obviously now it really will be with that contract running out. I was having a look earlier on. He's played 20 times for Southampton, been in and out of the side, which has really been a bit of a story of his career. It's been very difficult for him to nail down a spot in the team. I think he wants to play central midfield, but he's one of those players that the managers look at and can see he's got that ability or the qualities to play in multiple positions, which has its benefits and also has its downsides. And I think for him, has probably had a few more downsides than positives, because he's ended up being a sort of utility player. As I said, he's obviously got ability, but I think it's 5 different positions he's played this season, and he wants to be a central midfielder. So I think maybe that will be one of the things that will be a factor in what he does beyond this season, trying to find a club that will actually allow him to play in that preferred position that he has.
Dean, I think we can be fairly sure that Roman Perraud will come into the side, given the fact that Ainsley won't be playing. He's kind of been in and out of the team under different managers this season. What do you think Roman's strengths are, and also where he needs to improve?
It's an interesting one, Steve, because I think, my personal opinion, he's performed pretty well this season. And obviously he's the most natural left back at the football club. And when he's played well, especially when he's had a run of games and he's been consistently selected. His strengths are the ability to be able to get up and down the pitch. He's quick. He's enthusiastic. He wants to get in those attacking positions. He's pretty confident in front of goal when he does get the opportunity, as we've seen his goal against Newcastle here. He scored a couple of screamers. He's tenacious in the tackle. He likes to get really, really tight to his opponent and let him know he's in the game, as we're seeing here from the highlights. So he has lots of strengths and lots of attributes to become a really good left back. I think, I wouldn't say weaknesses, but things he could probably improve on positionally wise. I think sometimes he can get caught out of position where he goes a little bit too narrow and overcompensates, but that's just inexperience. I think he can be over tenacious at times and try and get too tight on his opponent, which can be a positive when you're being aggressive, but also you might get spun in one-on-one situations. That's difficult. But what I like about him is he's really, really fit, really strong. He's got a good turn of pace, and he always wants the ball. Whether we're winning, when we're losing games, he wants to get on the ball and he wants to try and make something happen. So I think he's going to be a good player for the football club. But I think what he needs is, he looks like a player that needs to be loved, and a player that looks like he needs to know he's going to play. He's going to get a consistent run of games so he can relax and he can play his natural game. And when he does that, I think he looks like a real player, and he's put some stellar performance in this season. So it's interesting to me that he has been in and out, and sometimes a right back has played at left back. I'm sure there's a reason for it. I'm not sure why that is. But when he's played, I think he's done pretty well.
Adrian, casting our minds back to last weekend then, Southampton had more shots and more shots on target than Crystal Palace. I mean, it really goes without saying, doesn't it? But they're certainly going to have to be more ruthless this evening and not let chances like these two in the first half pass them by.
Definitely. Those stats you just reeled off there, in some ways they can be a source of encouragement, because the chances and good chances are being created, the opportunities. But as you said, you have to take them, and especially, on a night like tonight when it's probably safe to say, and you probably expect that Southampton won't get too many chances, so they do have to make the ones that they do get count. Arsenal got the second best defensive record in the league. Southampton, meanwhile, are struggling for goals at the other end, so you can kind of see how you can almost make a prediction of how the game may pan out. So whatever chances they do get, they really do have to make the absolute most of them.
Dean, if we're going to get anything from this game tonight, I think we can all agree we're going to have to be tighter at the back. Now, the goals conceded against Palace, was that partly because of just giving them too much time on the ball?
Yes, I think at times. I think especially the second goal. But the first goal, I think it's good build-up play from Crystal Palace. They've got good possession of the ball. Southampton look pretty safe and pretty secure in that position. It's a good switch of play. Maitland-Niles doesn't do anything wrong, really. Sends him down the outside, gets tight. Bazunu then does his best in that situation from the come shot and parries it into the centre of the box. But what it was is those one-on-one situations, Steve, where Lavio is with Eze when the move starts, when he switches play, when he plays that diagonal ball. And then when Eze kind of drifts into the box, there's no fantastic movement from him. There's no real sprint from him. He kind of jogs into the box. And that would be the disappointment, that Lavia is just a little bit unaware. He's ball watching. He's just got his eyes on the ball and he's not aware of the players around him. The second one is Djenepo just needs to do a little bit better. He tries to gamble on what Eze's going to do. Eze's body movement and his balance is brilliant. He receives the ball, he moves Djenepo and then goes the other way. And it's a fantastic finish. It's brilliant individual skill. It really, really is. But when he's in that position with his back all to the Southampton goal and he's facing his own goal, you've got to keep him going in that direction so then he can play backwards or he plays square. But Djenepo just tries to win the ball and gamble and predict what's going to happen. And he just moves the ball really, really well. He manipulates the ball and it's a lovely strike. So the second goal, he has too much time because of Djenepo gambling. That side, just get goal side, send them sideways, send them backwards. And we're going to have to do that tonight. We're going to have to shuffle as a team. We're going to have to be disciplined. We're going to have to make really, really good decisions with and without the ball. We're going to have to cover for each other. So when there's moments where we do lose the ball, we lose possession, or a Southampton player gets beaten, another player's going to have to come and cross. And because they're moving across, another player's going to have to cover for them. That's what you have to do against the best teams. Make them earn their victory, make them earn their goals, don't give them goals. And I think that second goal against Crystal Palace at the weekend, we didn't give Eze the goal, but we gave him the opportunity to shoot. And that can't be the case tonight.
Now, Adrian, Arsenal have thrown away 2-0 leads in their last two matches. I mean, perhaps they're having a bit of a wobble as this title race reaches its conclusion. What does Southampton need to do this evening to cause them problems?
I think one of the things that they'll probably be looking to do is prey on any sort of anxiety or nervousness that may be, I guess, a result of those previous two games. I'm sure you can understand them maybe dropping the 2-goal lead at Liverpool, but when you do it at West Ham and it comes in the second game running, and there's perhaps a frailty there to prey on, if you like. I mentioned a couple of the things Arteta mentioned earlier on. West Ham being direct and aggressive. That's how West Ham cause them problems. So that can be an approach that Southampton can hopefully take advantage of. And I think another issue is Arsenal, when they've had key players missing, and that they're certainly going to be without Saliba again tonight. Zinchenko's been missing lately as well. And just when they've had a couple of players missing, that consistency of selection, it just feels like it's not quite been as reliable as they have been when they've had their first choice 11 out, as any team would be. But again, if you come up against an Arsenal team without some of their key players, and it maybe just gives you something to look to, area to exploit.
Very much so. Well, just on that, the team news is in now. There are 3 changes that have been made to last weekend as Roman Perro, Moi Elianusi and Adam Armstrong come in for Maitland-Niles, Aribo and Sulemana. It's also Adam Armstrong's first appearance since a 0-0 draw with Manchester United on the 12th of March. So here's that Southampton lineup in full. In goal, Gavin Bazunu, Carl Walker-Peters, Jan Bednarek, Armel Bella-Kotchap, Roman Perro, Romeo Lavia, our captain James Ward-Prowse, Moi Elianusi, Charlie Alcaraz, Theo Walcott and Adam Armstrong. And then on our substitutes bench this evening is Alex McCarthy, Lianco, Duje Shaleta-Sarr, Ibrahima Diallo, Stuart Armstrong, Joe Aribo, Mislav Orsic, Kamaldeen Sulemana and Paul Onuachu. Dean, what do you make of the lineup Ruben selected tonight?
Well, probably pretty much as we thought, Steve, to be honest. I think the only surprise is that Adam Armstrong coming back into the team, just because he hasn't really played a part in terms of whether he's starting or trying to make an impact from the bench, really. So it would also be interesting to see where he plays. Would he play wide or would he play that kind of lone striker? I think it will be a 4-2-3-1. The 2 central midfielders holding and protecting the back 4 like I mentioned, because the front players of Arsenal are brilliant. They're so flexible, they're so fluent, their rotation is so good, their understanding of each other's movement is very, very good, and obviously they're top class players as well. So the goalkeeper, the back 4 and the 2 holding midfield players are going to play a vital role tonight. They really, really are. And then it's the attacking players. I think Alcaraz coming back into the team to start, he has that ability to run from midfield and break the lines and get in behind and support the attacking players of Southampton. Elianusi, has that energy in the midfield areas to support it when we do get possession of the ball or we are counter-attacking. He's a very, very fit player. And Theo Walcott, playing on the right-hand side, or would he play up front? So interesting to see how they play, but I do expect it to be a 4-2-3-1. We've been a little bit conservative to start with, just holding that shape and trying to frustrate Arsenal. I think that's really, really important. Don't allow them to get into their rhythm. Don't allow them to score early, and don't allow them to build up chances after chances. So yeah, we need possession of the ball at times, and I think the team is selected has the ability to cause Arsenal some problems tonight.
Yeah, Adrian, we have seen Ruben change the attack up in recent weeks with the absence of Shea Adams. Sekou Mara started, Joe Aribo started in that forward position. Is this a case of getting Adam Armstrong into the team to try and find that attacker to get the goals that Southampton so desperately need?
Yeah, and I think also maybe just to extend what Dean just mentioned there, I think the pace is important as well, which Adam Armstrong has, and it will just give Southampton hopefully and potentially an outlet as well, which you need in a game like this to get the team up the pitch. You imagine that Arsenal will have long spells of the ball, long spells of possession and pressure, and you need to alleviate that. And if you've got somebody who can run in behind the defence, can carry the ball, and Adam Armstrong will be useful in that sense. And with Walcott there as well, it's not just him who can offer that threat in behind as well. So, looking at the team, there are a couple of different ways potentially that they could line up, and it's important that there's pace in that team as well.
All right, well, let's bring you, the fans, into the conversation for the first time tonight then. Daniel Paul's tuning in on Facebook. He says Ward-Prowse free kick. He thinks it's going to be 1-1 at full time. Keith Hunt, hello to you. He says, come on, Saints, put up a fight. Nothing to lose now. Kaylee Sanders BT, on YouTube. It says, you can do this. You won against City. Christina Morgan is also joining us. Good luck, Saints. Come on, you Reds, she says. Good evening, Chris Steels. He says, up the Saints. We march on whatever happens. We do indeed, Chris. Rod Lewis is also tuned in tonight. He says, leave it all out there, lads. 100% effort and no one will be able to complain. And a final one from now from Luke. He says, just show some fighting spirit. We are Southampton Football Club and that badge on your shirt means a lot to us fans. It certainly does, doesn't it, Luke? Dean, let's come to you then and speak a bit more about the opposition, Arsenal. I mean, they've only dropped points 8 times this season, but one of those times was, of course, earlier in the season at St Mary's Stadium. That was a 1-1 draw. Can you talk us through both of those goals, please?
Well, it was to start with, it was a really good performance from Southampton, especially in that second half. They're really, really brave with the ball in possession. But the goals come from what we probably spoke about, Pero just getting a little bit too tight and Stuart Armstrong not staying with Ben White on the overlap, a little bit of hesitation, then couldn't quite get back with him. Then if you look at Diallo in his midfield position, he needs to be a little bit deeper. I think it's on the two Arsenal players, and then James Ward-Prowse is in between the two midfield players and can't quite make the decision what he needs to do to whether he goes tight or whether he covers a space. And then Lianco needs to come a little bit more narrow and make a decision. But the Southampton goal is brilliant. This is what I was talking about, the bravery and possession they had in the second half, and they made the pitch really, really big. Salasu's pass is fantastic. Pero starts, his position is really, really high, almost as a winger, and Joe Aribo becomes a little bit narrow. Joe Aribo's awareness in that situation, his vision to know that Pero's going to go narrow is fantastic. It really, really is. And then it's a switch of play. And it's all about Elenous's patience on the ball, his willingness to drive at that unorganised Arsenal defence in that moment, the weight of the pass, the timing of the pass, because Stuart Armstrong doesn't have to break his stride at all. He makes that run, the timing of the run, and then it's the composure with the finish. He could have snatched at that. He could have tried to put his foot right through it, but he just cuts across it and passes it into the back of the net. And what I liked about that goal, it was Southampton playing on angles, and it was really, really flexible. They weren't running in straight lines. They weren't passing in straight lines. And when you beat the best teams and you cause the best teams problems, you have to play on angles and you have to cause them problems and you have to cause some confusion. And in that move, Southampton caused Arsenal a lot of confusion and they were all out of position. So a brilliant goal and a good reaction from Southampton in that second half, especially.
You look at the team that started that match, Adrian. Southampton were without Kyle Walker-Peters, Romeo Lavia, Armel Bella-Kotchap. So given the circumstances, it was a terrific point.
Yeah, it really was. I think even full strength, it would have been a terrific point to stop Arsenal winning. I think if you go back to that first part of the season, it felt like Arsenal were just reeling off win after win after win. They only dropped points twice before the World Cup. They'd lost to Manchester United, and then Southampton were then the next team to take points of them. But they were the only two to stop them winning before the World Cup. So to do that anyway would have been impressive, and then to do that without three of your better, your more influential players. Walker-Peters, obviously his ability to play down both sides as a fullback. Armel Bella-Kotchap, I think, has done well since he joined the club, young centre-back. And Romeo Lavia was a big miss when he was out injured. I think the team suffered. He's only a young player, but I think we've all seen how talented he is and how influential he is on the team. So to get a point against what would have been a really informed Arsenal back then, missing three of your best players it was a great point, as you said.
Well, let's talk about Lianco now then, Dean, because he actually made his first start of the season in that Arsenal match, and he certainly imposed his style on the game, didn't he? Perhaps a little fortunate not to have been sent off towards the end. He obviously featured heavily under Nathan Jones, but it seems Ruben Sellers has preferred other options. Why do you think that is?
I think just the difference of opinion, Kenzie. I think managers and coaches see all different things in players. I think Nathan Jones came out on a couple of occasions with interviews and spoke about how much he loved Lianco, loved his approach to the game and how aggressive he was as a player, and he left it all on the pitch. He was a team player, loved his attitude, his character around the training ground. He's a little bit crazy at times and does some stupid things. But I've known a few players that do that and they live right on the edge. But that's why they can have some excellent performances, because they do live on the edge. And it's a bit of a gamble at time. But like I say, against Martinelli early in the season against Arsenal, he was brilliant. He really, really is. He had his number. I like Lianco. I think he struggles where... What's his best position? Is he a right back? I'm not sure. Is he a natural centre half in a two? Maybe not. Probably playing in a three, the wide right-hand side of a three, I think he could be his best position. But he's actually technically very good on the ball. You see in possession, he's created chances. A goal he created for Mara against Man City in the Cup was brilliant. Him driving forward and then the cross. Again, really aggressive in his tackling. You need players like him. You really, really do. So it's just opinions, I think, because he's never let the club down. He hasn't. Any performance he's put in, He's given it 100%, and the fans love him, which is great. You know, there's been moments. I think it was the Arsenal game actually when we did it live as well, and he made a tackle towards the end, and he went over to the crowd, and he got the crowd on their feet, and he got the crowd going, and you need that in moments. So, look, I'm sure the players respect him. I'm sure the players like him. I don't think he's done anything wrong, but the problem he's got when he is playing right back, he's got Kyle Walker-Peters in front of him, who is a very, very good player and gives Southampton so much in attacking areas that maybe Lianco doesn't. So just a matter of opinion, really. But when he's played for Southampton, he's given it everything. He's been good to watch, lives on the edge. So I don't mind that myself.
Oh, I got to say, I love him. I think he's brilliant. All right, time now to head back to social media to hear what you are saying at home. Let's start with this comment here from Daniel Smith. He says, really hope for a win today. Come on, boys. You can do it. Christopher Woodgate also getting in touch on Facebook. He says, do your best and win. Simple as that. Neil Edwards says, we can do it. Come on, you Reds. Lots of belief coming in from the fans. Richard Barnett, hopefully we can win tonight. Tris Skies, hello to you. Tuning in on Facebook. Please, lads, give us some hope tonight. Ryan Ackland feeling hopeful. He's on YouTube and says 6 points out of our next 4 games are possible. Michelle Bradbury, hello. She says, come on you Reds. And we'll have a final one here from Nadia Egan. She says, good luck.
Good stuff. Well, it's that time, gentlemen, to get your final thoughts and those all-important score predictions. Adrian, what are you saying?
Right. Obviously, most people, 99% of people, probably be expecting an Arsenal victory tonight. But in the interest of optimism and Arsenal's recent results, I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. That's what I'm going to go for. A repeat of what Arsenal have had in the last couple of games.
Okay, well, Adrian says, in the opinion of optimism, Dean, you're ever the optimist. What's your score prediction for tonight?
I am optimist. I am an optimist, Stephen. I think there will be something in this game for Southampton today. I think we have to defend brilliantly. There's no getting away from that because the players Arsenal have. We need a little bit of luck, maybe a VAR decision to go our way, maybe a couple of the Arsenal players missing opportunities, which we actually saw in the highlights from the whole game. Bazunu having a brilliant night. We're going to need that as well. And then maybe some, a set piece, maybe scoring from a set piece, a James Ward-Prowse free kick, or an Adam Armstrong getting in behind and getting brought down for a penalty because of his pace. Something like that. I think the players are going to have to go through a lot of pain tonight, and they're going to have to go through a lot of work. And the stats, I'm sure, when they look at it tomorrow, will be fantastic and as high as they've been all season. But I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw.
Oh, we love a bit of optimism, don't we?
Indeed.
Dean, Adrian, thanks so much for your company. As always, brilliant to have you with us. Well, a big night ahead at the Emirates Stadium as Arsenal host Southampton under the lights. Kickoff is at 8 p.m. And of course, as always, the 4 of us will be back with you after the game. So do make sure you join us for the final whistle. Bye for now.
See you soon.